latest trends, innovations, and challenges in sustainability across various industries and sectors. From sustainable energy and transportation to sustainable food system and circular economy, our program features a diverse range of topics and speakers who are expert in their fields. Before we begin this event, we would like to call upon Professor Dr. Kavita Indapurkar, Head of Amity School of Economics, along with faculty and few students, to invoke the blessings of Goddess Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom and knowledge, by lighting the ceremonial lamp. Let us come to join. Please join us for this. Importance of Saraswati Vandana. By reciting Saraswati Vandana at the beginning of conference, the organizer seeks the blessings of Goddess of knowledge and wisdom for a successful and fruitful event. It is believed
शारदे माँ हे शारदे माँ अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ मुनियों ने समझी है गुणियों ने जानी वेदों की भाषा पुराणों की वाणी मुनियों ने समझी है गुणियों ने जानी वेदों की भाषा पुराणों की वाणी हम भी तो समझे हम भी तो जाने विद्या का हमको अधिकार दे माँ हे शारदे माँ हे शारदे माँ अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ हे शारदे माँ हे शारदे माँ अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ हे शारदे माँ अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ मुनियों ने समझी है गुणियों ने जानी
Thank you so much, ma'am. Professor Dr. Kavita Indapurkar, with an experience of teaching in higher education institutions in India for over 25 years, has held several academic leadership positions and is presently professor and is heading the School of Economics at Amity University, Uttar Pradesh. A PhD in economics and an MBA in finance, qualified at national level test for teaching in higher education in India. Professor Dr. Kavita Indapurkar, fine, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Siddharth, for my introduction. A very good morning to one and all present here. And this is a very proud moment for me to be here in front of you all, to welcome all of you at the inaugural session of the two-day national conference. That is the 6th National Conference of Amity School of Economics at Amity University, Noida campus. From the core of my heart, I thank our revered, most respected Honorable Founder President Sir for bestowing upon us his blessings and making us capable enough to hold this event. I, along with the team ASC, welcome you, sir. I also thank our Honorable Chancellor Sir for his continuous support and unconditional guidance. I, along with my team ASC, welcome you, sir. Our guiding star is our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Madam, who motivates us always to raise our benchmarks so that we work for the vision and mission laid down by our respected Founder President, Sir, and Chancellor, Sir. I, along with my team, welcome you, ma'am, for this inaugural session of the two-day national conference. I heartily welcome our chief guest for today, Dr. S.P. Sharma ji, the Chief Economist and Deputy Secretary General at PhD Chamber of Commerce, on this occasion. He had promised us to be here But due to some personal issues, he decided to use the hybrid option at the last minute. I welcome you, sir. And I also thank you for making it possible in at least in the online mode. I welcome respected Mrs. Preeti Srivastava, who is presently the mentor advocacy at Reliance Industries Limited. I thank you, madam, for accepting our invitation, and I feel privileged to share the dais with your kind self. I welcome you, ma'am. I also welcome Mr. Sandeep Srivastava ji, who will set the tone for the 2-day conference. I welcome him as the keynote speaker as well for today, who is head ESG at Ever Enviro Resource Management. ASE has developed good rapport with Mr. Sandeep, who has always accepted our invitation and graced this flagship event of ASE. I welcome you, sir. I would like to welcome our mentor, Professor Dr. Bandopadhyay, sir, who has been former Vice Chancellor at GGS IP University and is presently mentoring us all. He has uh, uh, he is not keeping very well, so he has sent his blessings through me to all of us for our successful conference. And he also has certain assignments, and he will be definitely trying to reach out to us either today afternoon or maybe tomorrow. I also take this opportunity to welcome all guests, paper presenters, and participants in the campus, and those who are joining us in the online mode. Thank you for showing interest in our conference. I hope that this platform will help you showcase your research and you will also gain academically. I welcome all the students from economics and students of other departments. I hope and believe that you will gain from the conference. I once again welcome all who have joined us online and in campus for the conference.
Thank you for your wonderful kind words, ma'am. I would now like to introduce our highly venerated guest of honor, Ms. Preeti Srivastava. Ma'am is a professional advocate and a compassion mentor, inspiring many young minds under corporate affairs at Reliance Industries Limited. She has built up an expertise in various fields to the point of offering mentorship and guidance to young professionals to make their journeys not only meaningful, but she has also endeavored to help women in skill development, promoted mental health awareness, and shared her thoughts on gender equality, and also creating viable and sustainable business strategies as a domain in public affairs, as well as creating an environment of learning and guidance for people around her. She is also associated with a non-profit and various sustainable projects on pro bono basis. Ma'am, I welcome you on behalf of Amity, senior functionaries, faculties, and students. We are sure that all of us gathered here will be enlightened with your valuable thoughts and ideas that you will share today. So, without taking much of the time, over to you, ma'am.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Kavita, and the faculty for inviting me. Welcome, Sandeep. Good to have you here, and all the students who are online. Coming to this campus is very nostalgic for me because I've been an Emeritian student's parent for very long. My daughter, who's now settled in Canada, joined MIT in nursery and passed out as a graduate from this campus. So, I was observing, I'm coming here after 4 years, and it has really grown. And please convey my regards to the management, Balvinder Shukla. She's a dear friend for making MIT what it is today. And before I start, I must tell you how privileged you all are to be studying in an institution which gives you holistic growth, not just the bookish knowledge. The subject, sustainability, is very, very vast. It means different to different people. For me, it is the way of life and the way of living. So, coming here in the car, I said, let me just give you an overview from the government point of view, a little bit about Reliance, and then I would like to talk to you what I feel you as students can do to contribute to sustainability. And definitely, if the time permits, I would like to interact, and I hope you please ask questions, because listening to lectures can be a little boring, but interaction is always good. So please keep your questions ready. I will not give a long speech, and then probably we can interact. Today, globally, we are facing a lot of issues, whether it's environment, it's climate change, it is because of the war, COVID, and pollution and sustainable development go hand to hand. 2030 SDG goals, a vision, which even India has signed. You all are aware. So I will not deliberate what are the SDGs. I'm sure that there'll be speakers during next 2 days who will be talking. I will just give you from a government point of view that the government has decided that next few years will be dedicated especially towards sustainability in the green skill development program. And even Reliance as a company is trying to fulfill its own vision of being a green company, and also contributing to the Indian vision. Last few years, India has made significant progress in sustainable development, especially in reducing greenhouse gas emission, improving access to clean water and sanitation. But being such a huge, large country, I think the more we do is always less. But I think we should assess the progress, especially in sustainability, by the work done and not by how much is left. And I think that's the key, that the momentum of working on sustainable causes by the government, by the community, by civil society, and the corporate world should slow. Talking of Reliance, as I speak, I've completed 25 years with them. And one of the greatest thing I have learned from Reliance Industry is that, they make their business sustainable, more so in the last 15 years. And I was supposed to touch upon ESG, but I think Sandeep is here, who's an expert on ESG, and he'll talk more. But ESG, which is environment, social, and governance, is one of the key pillars of Reliance. And I'll just give two examples of how we have done it. So we have four gigafactories across 5,000 acres in Jamnagar, and we produce solar panels, energy storage system, fuel cells, and a global partnership to make it green. And the target is that in the next 10 to 15 years, we should be net zero. And Jamnagar is something, as you all know, that when the refinery survey was being done, if you read the history, everybody says that this is a place where water is not clean, not drinking water. There's a lot of sand there, typical Gujarat desert. Nothing will happen. Today we are world's largest refinery. We have recycled the water, treated it not only for the township of Reliance there, but also for the community there. Reliance is one of the largest producers of plastics in the world and contributes to little over half of India's plastic production PET. And now we have turned it into recyclable plastic. So when I'm talking of ESG and sustainable business, I mean that you do your business, check your ROI, make your profits, but ensure that you convert it into a sustainable solution. And that's what Reliance has done. We have doubled our recycling capacity to 5 billion post consumer PET bottles, which is 90% of India's total recycling rate, which will help Reliance to be net zero status by 2035 or even earlier. And these PET consumer bottles are used as a raw material for manufacturing recycled polyester fiber. And this has been a very, very important breakthrough. And what we have done is that so we also own property called Lakme Fashion Week. And we just inaugurated India's biggest cultural center, Nita Mukesh Ambani Cultural Center, and we made a lot of people wear that recycled textiles made costumes, and most of the people could not make out. So what I'm trying to emphasize, and especially for young minds like you, who you never know may do a lot of innovation from something which is supposed to be a cause of a lot of pollution, plastic. If you can recycle it, convert it into something which is so useful in our daily life. Second, what I want to say is that we want to. Was that a bell for me for
No,
a
no,
reminder?
not at all, ma'am. It was not a bell for you.
Okay, then it's okay. So please tell me, because I've not been given a time limit. How can we reduce the emission? How can we reduce our use of computers? How can we make ourselves green? So what we are doing in Reliance is, we as employees are trying to come out with very innovative ideas. I'll talk about it later. And it has not only become a responsibility of the management, it has also become the responsibility of the employees. So, as I always says, individual social responsibility stands above corporate social responsibility. And if you don't inculcate these values into employees, it is very, very difficult for any institution to meet the sustainability goals. Another interesting story I want to tell you about Reliance is, if you read, and everything is available on Google, so I will not go in greater detail. We are the largest producer of mangoes in Jamnagar. I mean, this was a place, as I said, everybody had given hope. It's a desert. So we have made it so green. Organic farming is done, and around 180 variety of mangoes, which are not only consumed in India but are also exported abroad. So what I'm saying is that today, with technology, with the kind of innovations globally and in India, it's happening. Every place in India can be converted into a sustainable uh, a society, community project. So while you do your business, I think you have to call it that this is my sustainable vision, this is my sustainable business. One thing, wherever I go and I meet young students like you, and I just spoke of individual social responsibility, I think to train you to get into the corporate world, or maybe you start something of your own, you have to start thinking sustainability right here. As I said, that sustainability is a way of life. So, little examples what you can do, what I follow, and a lot of my people in Reliance follow. I will just read out to you. It's very simple. Ask yourself, how can you reduce zero carbon in your daily life? Use of electricity, you're getting out of the room, switch it off. Very, very little things we all know, but it requires a lot of mental practice to do it. uh, you have a lovely campus, why don't you cycle? A lot of you are staying in Noida, why can't you come in cycles? Anybody you're losing a vehicle, why you're not using a green petrol? CNG, I reserve my comments. CNG is a good product, but when I see lines, and I think the government is working on increasing the distribution. But whatever is available, whatever is in your hand, mode of transport is something which is contributing to a lot of pollution, and who knows better than us, Delhi NCR. uh, Amity has been known for planting trees, gifting small plants every time. I think it is not that you do it in the university, take it home, make it a hobby. Do not don't use garlands, tell people, spread awareness. Because due to a study, if each one of us also plant 10 trees every day, still we are lacking behind. So there's lot the planet has already lost, but still we can make some comeback, and we should think how can we make it green. use of plastics. We all love to drink coffee. At my NGO, I've worked with a project, students like you from Delhi University, and from bamboo, we have made that beautiful coffee tumbler, the one similar to what you get at Starbucks. So it's how, and all the students, they came to us that, we want to contribute. Use of single use plastic, I think it has reduced, but still we need a lot of solutions. Why can't we use bamboo pencils? Why can't we use bamboo for recycled plates in which we eat? And we have to get very, very innovative with our thinking. There is no list, there is no limit. As I said, sustainability is right here in your mind. How can you make a difference? Rainwater storage. This is something I've been harping as an individual, as a Reliance senior, which we do it. I don't know, and I see some smiles. They agree, but please, I know it is difficult. We just had a thunder 4 a.m. in the morning, and the people I know in Noida who are doing it got up at 4 o'clock and they stored that water for planting. I do that. So I have a arrangement wherever there's rain, I store, and with that water, I plant. I water the garden. It's how you do it. Most important is how do we, if do we passionately feel about it, and if we passionately feel about it, are we willing to do it? And if we are not willing to do it, then we have no right to raise questions. Sarkar kya kar rahi hai, government kya kar rahi hai? We have so many problems. So I think as a young country, the youth in India should first look inward. What are they contributing to the society? And then they should question what is the government or the country doing for them. uh, there's a lot of paper use in our lives. See how much we can get, rid of it with technology coming and everything online. Use of paper, if it can be, the paper which I'm using are the ones which comes out of the printer in circulars. So we pick it up and we tell everybody, please use that. Keep using that paper. Make maximum use. And if you can avoid using paper, please do that. Then there's another thing. I think most of the students are economic students. So one thing is economics sustainability. When I say economic sustainability, I mean I refer to practices designed to create a long-term economic development of a company or a nation or an institute, while also managing the environment, social, and the cultural aspect and activities. It's about balancing economic growth and generating profit with the impact of environment and people. You all know, how many of you know how many SDG goals are there? Please raise your hands.
How many SDG goals? How many?
Okay, so there's two goals rather. I would stress that you should take back from today's conference and work. Something as economic students, very important is SDG 8, which is economic growth and decent work. So a lot of people will ask, what have we as students, economic students, have to do? I think you are at a stage where you're deciding what will you do ahead. If you think economically sustainable world, you will get the answer. You will think and you will try and create business cases which are very sustainable. Second is gender equality, because gender equality, and especially in an institution like MIT, is very important. I've seen it when my daughter was here. Gender equality is something which contributes to 4 to 5% every year to sustainable causes when we create more jobs for both genders. So sustainability doesn't mean that, okay, let's make our country and globe green, let's avoid plastic, let's make efficient use of energy. I think our thoughts also have to be sustainable. And when we think sustainability, and we follow gender equality right from our childhood, during our school and university years. I think when you grow up and go out in a corporate, then you will realize what I'm saying, because then your whole mindset, your attitude towards society, towards your colleagues will change, and that is also sustainability. So what I'm trying to tell you is that sustainability is not what we read in books. Sustainability is an attitude. And I want to leave you with this quote by Abraham Lincoln, that, the best way to create a new world or a world of your dream is, or think about a world, is to create yourself. Nobody will come and create for you. You think of a world, you create it, and then only you will feel that we don't have to complain, but we have to contribute. Thank you so much. And if there's any questions.
Anyone?
Yeah, please.
So very good morning, ma'am. My question was basically like there's always a dilemma between growth and environment preservation. So, ma'am, as students of economics, how what can be the steps that you can tell us to integrate both
See, as I just, you said growth and,
economic environmental
Okay.
preservation?
yeah. S- See, as students, as I listed, you have to see growth which is sustainable. One is a growth which is, we read as economics and finance students, which is of numbers, of ROI, a balance sheet of a company. Today, that's what I'm saying. In your growth, which is the financial growth and the economic growth, the it should factor sustainability from day one. That's why we're saying now we are not, the buzzword was CSR, and Sandeep will agree. Now that is taken, he's going to tell you more about ESG. That is something I didn't take it up because I didn't know you. I know you're going to take it in detail. You have to make your businesses sustainable from day one. So as planners of business plans later on, as economic students, you have to start thinking that how can you incorporate sustainability in your business, and that will define your growth path, and they are not two separate things.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Any other
Anybody
questions?
else? Was I so boring? No questions? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for imparting your valuable thoughts and providing this conference the sublime start it needed. I would now like to introduce our next highly venerated guest of honor, Dr. S.P. Sharma. Sir has around 25 years of diverse experience in the various areas of the economy, trade, and industry. He started his career with the Government of Punjab in 1996 and subsequently moved to the Government of India, SOCAM, PwC, and Tatas. Currently, he is working with the prestigious industry body, PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as Chief Economist and Deputy Secretary General. He has conducted more than 200 research studies, papers, projects, etc. with prestigious organizations such as Government of India, state governments, UNCAD, European Commission, industry chambers, associations, and corporates. He is a chief economist at the leading industry body, PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry in New Delhi. Sir has conducted more than 100 research studies on economic, industrial, trade, finance, and social developments. He has appeared on various TV channels on developments in economy, industry, trade, finance, and markets. He is even a member of editorial board of Journal Press of India, advisory group of Birla Institute of Management and Technology, Surya Foundation, Geeta Ratan Institute of Management, Indian Institute of Finance, Jaipuria Institute of Management, Presidency University Bangalore, among others. He is MPhil in Industrial Economics and PhD in International Economics for prestigious Punjab University, Chandigarh. We now request Sir to address the April gathering with his valuable insights and ideas.
Thank you very much, and very good morning to all. And thank you, Amity University, for inviting me, Dr. Kavita, and thankful to you for inviting me to express my viewpoint on this very important subject, sustainable development. As rightly mentioned by previous speaker, respected madam, that now world is moving ahead with the so many challenges and so many concerns. Firstly, coronavirus, then Russia-Ukraine war, and then various climate-related issues. So it becomes very, very important to discuss all such kind of concerns so that our growth becomes more and more resilient and sustainable in the coming times. So I would like to mention, because you are all students of economics. So firstly, we have to know about the sustainability of our economic growth. India has always built its story on the basis of strong footprints. Like when we started our journey after the independence, uh, we built our story on the basis of grassroots. We started and we were very slow. In 1950s and 60s, our growth rate was only 2-3%. That was called the Hindu rate of growth. Then thereafter, there were reforms like Green Revolution. Firstly, our first paramount reform was Green Revolution. Thereafter, we studied the model that we are lagging behind in the open up of the economy, and we are a closed economy. That's why we are not able to move fast. So then we liberalized and globalized and privatized our industry and our economy. And thereafter, our growth uh, entered in the from steady to a sustainable mode, and then we were the fast, and now we are the fastest moving economy. So our growth story is built on the basis of so many parameters which are now called the sustainable development goals. Like we started our story from reducing the poverty, creating the employment opportunities, then addressing the environment related issues, then creating sustainable development in terms of the industrial development. Like we focused on industry, then we also addressed the issues related to the industrial development. And now, the growth story. Now we are the fastest moving economy in the world economic system, and that is recognized by IMF, International Monetary Fund, that India is a bright spot in the global ecosystem. If we check our sustainability or our resilience in the economic progress, then one can observe from the Lehman crisis, when all the economies were decelerated significantly after the financial crisis of US. That was called the Lehman crisis, and our growth only decelerated from more than 9% to around 7%. That was the resilience of our economy. That despite a global crisis, a global financial crisis, our growth decelerated by 2 percentage points only. And China decelerated much higher than the Indian economy, and other economies. So many economies were in the negative trajectory, and we recovered within I believe 18 months after the Lehman crisis. We recovered in financial year 2010-11, and our growth was again in the higher trajectory, and we move ahead with the sustainable growth of around 7% during the last 10-11 years. And now when after the 2015-16, when again world is impacted by the so many concerns, like firstly the US-China trade war that impacted the trajectory of global growth, but our growth remained sustainable, and we were able to post a growth rate of 6-7% every year. So the now going forward, our growth is projected by the IMF at around 7% in the next 5 years, which is the highest among many emerging, developing, and developed economies. We are the fastest in the developed economy in the large economies. So all the developments, all the parameters, all the sustainable development goals are very much focused by the government since the start of independence era. And now when we are celebrating our 75 years of independence, and we are in the Amrit Kal of our independence, government's focus is majorly on the employment creation, reducing the poverty, and creating strong industrial development by addressing the environmental related issues. Considering the last 2 3 years, like coronavirus, when corona impacted the whole world in 2020, the whole many economies, almost all the economies were in the negative trajectory, and India also witnessed a negative growth rate of 6.6%. Our sustainability, our resilience remained strong, and we recovered in the next quarter of the financial year of 2021. And growth is so resilient that we recovered significantly high in the next financial year at the rate of 8.7%. And thereafter, now we are posting a 7% growth rate for the current year. And as I mentioned, that we will be posting 7% growth in the next 5 years also. So how this story has been built on the basis of many challenges starting from the independence, because we focused on our grassroots, and we focused on our not only on our larger cities, but we developed from the grassroots level, and we focused on states and the districts and the blocks and the tehsils. If we go by the numbers, like if we consider the recent reforms undertaken by the government during the last 7 8 years, the reforms story started from the Make in India. Thereafter, there were reforms for the ease of doing business, and the government adopted the single window system recently, and reforms for the global economy. Like we entered the trajectory of higher exports recently, and we posted $423 billion in merchandise, and total exports were more than $650 billion last year. And current year target is $750 billion, and we will exceed that target. So resilience and sustainability are very much in the RNA and DNA of the Indian economy, as we move hand with a strong foot, and we are now very much visible in the global charts in each and every aspect, whether ease of doing business, or the economic growth, or innovation. All these parameters, all these ingredients are very much in focus of the government. Going forward, how to become more and more strong, as mentioned by respected madam before my turn, that now the growth has to become more and more green. Like recent budget focused on the major four ingredients of the Indian economy, like women economic empowerment, then the artisans, and green growth, and the tourism. So green growth is now at a very much in the radar of the government, as the government is very serious to develop the green technologies and green energies, and green hydrogen has become a strong focused area of the government. And many private sector companies like the Reliance Industries and other public sector units, NTPC, all are working for the progress of the green technology and the green hydrogen in India, so that India becomes a major hub of the green hydrogen, because this is going to become a major ingredient of all the world economies to move ahead while addressing the sustainable development goals. So the objective is to bring the cost of producing of green hydrogen to the level of US dollar 2 per kg, or even some companies are talking about US dollar 1 per kg. So that is the process of the green technologies and green development, so that the green becomes a strong ingredient of our GDP growth. And going ahead, as government is working on various models, like collaborating with the international players for the development of green technology, we are sure that in the years ahead we will become more and more strong in our clean energy, and green share in the GDP will be more and more significant, and we will achieve the potential growth rate trajectory of 9-10% in the coming times on the basis of recent development in the green technologies. If we go by the sustainable development goals, like the poverty, education, employment, then the health and equality, then reducing the inequality, then the innovation, infrastructure, and all water, and life below butter, and then all these ingredients are in very much focus of the government during the last many years, and since the start of independence. Firstly, we focused on the industry, then the green revolution was there, agricultural development, then now again the agriculture sector is becoming more and more important for the policy environment, as agriculture is a major resilient sector of the Indian economy. And despite the coronavirus, despite so many challenges, agriculture sector is growing more than 3% during the last many years. And our agri and food exports are crossing US dollar 50 billion, which is again a major resilient thing for the Indian economy, that growth is becoming sustainable on the basis of our inherent strengths like the agriculture sector, and we are an agrarian economy. But unfortunately, still we are not that much strong in the global arena in the agri and food exports. We are only $50 billion in the $1,300 billion imports by the many countries. The world imports are more than $1,300 billion. We are only 0.5% of the uh, uh, global agri and food exports. But going forward, I think this sector is going to become a major, another IT sector of the Indian economy, as the agriculture exports are going at a faster rate. Firstly, from $30 billion in 1920, then $40 billion in 2021, then $50 billion in 21-22. And in the current year, I think we will cross $60 billion in the agriculture exports. And our target is to become $100 billion agriculture export economy in the short run, and $250 billion in the long run. So all the parameters, all the ingredients, and all the development goals of the Indian economy are very much focused, and we are progressing in all these parameters, which are the sustainable development goals. And not only the sustainable development goals, but our focus is to build a strong growth story, which is a sustainable and which is again becoming more and more visible, as said by our honorable prime minister, that सही समय है, यही समय है. तो हमें focus करना चाहिए on our strengths, and we have to move forward with more and more focus on our strengths, so that we are becoming more and more visible in the global growth trajectory. So thank you very much for inviting me. I was facing some infection in my eye, so that's why I was not able to join physically. So I look forward that sometime I come there and join physically in the prestigious MIT University.
Thank you so much, sir. I think you have answered some of the questions and the dilemmas of our students who are talking about environment and growth at the same time. And we have that caliber to be resilient enough to come back with whatever we face, and definitely we will come out of this with flying colors. Thank you so much, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, sir, for inspiring us with your kind and valuable words. It is with immense pleasure that we announce the presence of our revered keynote speaker, Professor Mr. Sandeep Srivastav. Sir is currently working with the Ever Enviro Resource Management as Head ESG. He's had his master's in environmental engineering and bachelor's degree in civil engineering. Also, he has pursued his diploma in environmental law and postgraduate diploma in operations management. He has previously worked with Ambuja Cements Limited as Head Corp Sustainability and Environment, looking after environment, climate change, and corporate sustainability functions. He had been the convener of Sustainability Committee and responsible for Ambuja Sustainability Report. He has also been a member of CII National Council on Climate Change. He possesses over 30 years of rich experience working with government and industry on several subjects, areas on environment, health, safety, climate change, and corporate sustainability. He is a professional with over 32 years of rich experience working with industry and government on all aspects of corporate ESG, environment and climate change policy, legislations, ESG risks and mitigation, sustainability reporting with SDGs integration, water and carbon positive initiatives, life cycle analysis, and global ESG ratings. Hence, we now request Sir to address the April gathering with his valuable insights and ideas.
So good morning, everyone. Really an honor, privilege to be here today. And I'm recalled of maybe 3, 4 years back. Then it was a session when we can have the physical, meeting that used to be there and conference which was there. And I think is in 2019, right? After 4 years, we have been meeting. It's like, yeah. So it is always, rejuvenating to come to Amity campus. And as Madam Srivastava was mentioning about her daughter, we also have our daughter who is alumni of Amity School. And now she did MTech and now settled in Netherlands. So this is also a very personal bond also with Amity institutions, which are the school and the university here. So let me just take you through some of the slides which I have made, though it is not a very long lecture kind of a thing, because you may be more used to those lectures kind of thing, which I do not want you to happen today. But just to put the things in context, I thought that would be good to just have few slides made. And let me ask you, I mean, just to begin, because now you have got very good perspective about the environment as well as the growth, which was there in previous 2 lectures, which are there. So what are the 3 biggest, I would say, the prominent environmental issues or challenges you see today? Just three. As per your own personal, I would say that the liking or which you have been witnessing today, which are the 3 topmost? Come on, it is not an exam.
Please
It is
raise
just
your
a-
hands so that your mic can be sent to you.
Just you can just raise your hand and yeah, please speak up.
I think it's global warming, pollution. These are the main challenges that is faced by the economy and
Right,
any
right.
country.
Yeah, and others, your opinion?
The disposal of plastic things and how to recycle them.
Okay. Yes, one of the very kind of a major problem today. Here we are witnessing. Anyone else?
Yes. In the second row.
You know, you are a citizen of Delhi and you don't feel any kind of environmental problems. I think it's very unique.
Population growth.
Population growth. Okay. Yes. Any other?
Yes.
Or the campus is so nice that you have got never any problem. This is also good. This is a reflection on the campus.
So the air quality of Delhi NCR.
Okay. Right. So air quality also. Yes. Okay. So let me take you on some of these challenges which are there, which I thought that may be there today. And you can disagree with me that, okay, it's not there. Like water availability. And water availability is like, it's not only the availability of water, but also the quality of water. Climate change, of course, we have been witnessing the things, extreme weather situations. Okay, today's weather is very pleasant, but it's not a kind of a very unusual to, in April, which is onset of summer, that you have got such a pleasant weather. So it's not always, sometimes very, extreme also. Resources, because we are a country having, someone said population, maybe, just the 18% of the world's population. Now we have overtaken China also, you would have heard. And in a landmass of 2.5% of the global landmass, right? Having just 4% of water resources, which we have been consuming as 18% of the population. And forest is just 1% of the overall forest which we have. Air pollution, waste, number of wastes which are there. Today we are generating and then we have to find a place to dispose of. So these are some of the things which are there, and population rise, it is also there, because I have said already that we are quite a few people living in a smaller, utilizing a smaller kind of resources. And the climate change risks which are there. So it's a kind of a thing that those who are living in the coastal region, also, this sea ingress is there, but also the kind of drought situation, or a kind of a situation where the other weather extremes are there, which are taking place, and extreme temperatures which are there. So crop, water availability, and those are the kind of things which are going to be affected because of the climate change. Because you would have heard about this 1.5 degree and 2 degrees. Earlier we have been trying under Paris Agreement, 2 degree first and then now 1.5 degree centigrade. The kind of rise which is allowed by the mid of century to be able to achieve that level at the end of the century. Right. Now, what is the difference between 2 degrees and 1.5 degree? If I'll ask you this question, is you can very well say it's 0.5 degree, but that is not, yes, that is 0.5 degree, but that is also that means that the water availability will dwindle to half as it would have been in 2 degrees centigrade. So that is the kind of situation we have. Coastal lines, we have more than 6,000 kilometers of coastline, and Maharashtra, Gujarat, or Odisha and Andhra Pradesh and West Bengal, they all will be getting affected. And plastic pollution, that is also not very unique to us. And as if it is not the only one, the fly ash generation, which is coming out from thermal power plants, the hazardous waste, tailings, and slag, and number of these things are there. So those are also, in a way, is creating a problem in terms of that where to get the waste disposed of, because that requires land, that requires some kind of a medium through which it is to be disposed of. And domestic garbage, you would have seen that the garbage dumps are there all around. Yeah, so that is wherever you go, dalaos are there, or the household places, we have got the bins are there where they are overflowing bins. Even you will see that the kettles are there, the dogs, and then the rag pickers, they are also there around. So that kind of a unique situation where we see it every day and day out. And plastic is something which is a menacing proportion that in the sea, it is said that by 2050, we have got more number of plastic pieces than the aquatic animals there. So that kind of alarming proportions. And we have to have energy, because it is already said that we have to grow at 7 or 8% of growth in next, say, 5, 10, or 20 and 30 years. We may be growing something like 7% to 30 years. Now, where are the energy requirement? Where are they going to come from? Where are the resources they are going to come from? So all these, the kind of situation, just think about it, where we are heading towards, right? And you would have heard about this particular term, the World Overshoot Day. Have you heard this particular thing? World Overshoot Day, where the entire budget of the whole year we are able to utilize in certain time. Like you are given, of course, no one asks for any money from the parents today, but suppose you have got 100 rupees you ask from your parent, and he will say that you have to last it for the full month, right? And you exhaust it within, say, 15 days. So whatever time you have been there in rest of the 15 days, that is the, overdrawing from somewhere else you have to take, from friends or someone else. They might also be thinking that every time you come and ask around 15th, that I have exhausted all my money, right? So the situation is that today, to live in one world, we have been exhausting almost 75 of the world. So almost like 75% of the extra world we have been living, or their resources we are living. So this is the Ethics Corporation, which brings out every year the World Overshoot Day. So it is a day in a year where we would have exhausted the resources of the entire year. Now, do you know when was this last year? When was the World Overshoot Day last year? In 70s, it used to be in December, right? Slowly, we have exhausting earlier. So then it was November and October and September, and now somewhere July, June, whatever, where it is there now. So there is a particular day when it said that, okay, now we have exhausted all the resources for the whole year. And then we are overdrawing thereafter. So last year it was 28th of July. So it was almost like more than a year, half of the year, we would have exhausted everything. So this is the situation we are living in. And that is why we have to grow at, remember, 7-8%. Where are the resources going to come from? So this is the Niti Aayog has brought out this particular projections. It is talking about the extreme growth and the kind of current growth or slow growth, right? Three scenarios. So you will see that three bars are there, so that the blue ones are the steep, and then the current is red, and then the light green is the slow growth, right? So where we would be consuming less in case of slow growth. So almost we have been consuming something like 15 billion tons of the material. This is what has been forecast. Almost we are doing this, and which is going to be there by 2050 would be 50 billion tons of the resources. That means all your biomass, all your construction materials, cement, aggregates, sand, water, all that you need, right? Of course, water would have not been taken care here in terms of doing the mineral resources and agro resources and all that. But without water, you cannot do any construction work. You may have cement, you may have aggregate and sand, but you may not have water. Will you be able to construct? Can you make the concrete and to build the buildings? In fact, another very interesting yardsticks, which came from Niti Aayog and European Commission document about 5 years ago, they have got this projection that 75% of the buildings, what they say, which will stand by 2030, they are yet to be built in India, right? So we are, you can imagine the situation and the kind of growth potential for you people also. That is enormous. But at the same time, whether we have the resources to cater to that kind of a requirement, which is there going to be prevailing by 2030 and 2050, because that would be your prime at that time when you will be there out and be there, having the jobs there, and you have to have the entire career to be there. So you can look from that point of view that where we are heading towards and what would be something which we should be doing as a country, as an individual. And very topical subject, I must compliment the faculty in AES and Dr. Kavita, everyone, that such a very, very burning topic of sustainable development goals. Because we see that there are 17 goals, right? And it was already mentioned, they are into three buckets of these, the social. So you have gender equality, you have hunger, poverty, and so on. Then there is an economic bucket. So you have those innovation and decent living and so on. And then there is environment. So you have climate change, water, you have the life below, water and on the land, all these kind of things which have been there. Now, but what is the key? What is the key goal, which I'll ask you? Every goal is very important in itself. But the key goal, if I have to see, there is number 12. That is the responsible consumption. Can we do with the less and less of resources? Can we produce more? Or we can work, or we can, live on a situation where we will be able to, when it comes to production, more with the less of resources. So those situations we are there. And why it is so important? Why 12 is so important? 12 is so important because it is having interlinkage with 9 other goals, right? So this is having something which is there in the society, though it is an environmental goal, you can call it, but having very deep linkages with the social and as well as the economic goals. Because responsible consumption, whether you have to build a building, or you have to have the cities, or you have the vehicles, wherever, whatever, in whichever field it may be there, you need to have that. And that is why the key to this all would be the circular economy, which we have been talking about. So what is circular economy? What is circular economy? Circular economy is that we have got one way of working, which we are very used to it, that use something and then throw it, and it is going somewhere, right? And then this is gone forever. Because you would have heard these things that nothing comes from nowhere, right? And nothing goes ever away. So nothing comes from nowhere. That means it is the resources you would be needing, whether for your own consumption, whether it's food or water, or for fuel for your vehicles and all. So nothing comes from nowhere and nothing ever goes away. So after consumption, when we throw it out, it is not going to go away. What is happening in the case of the landfill sites? I think in Delhi, I think it is not very unusual to have the big mounds of the garbage heaps, right? In Ghazipur, in Bhawana, and in Okhla, those places. So those are the things which have been accumulated over a period of time. And first time I have seen the election, which is on a garbage dump, you know. So we always wonder whether the election could be on water, could be on things like waste management and things like, you know, a pure quality of air. And one can see that we are having, you know, heading towards that. Why? Why we are heading towards those kind of situations? Because nothing else. It is the matter of survival now. So if the mound of the waste is there, you will find the leachate of that is taking place in the groundwater. Then we have got the burning of the waste is happening every summer. So the entire area goes there, engulfed into the flames and the smoke. And then you have got what? The land subsidence. In fact, already Ghazipur land has been there and some people also died there. So can we make this waste to work for us? Can we recycle it back into the situation, into the system again? Which is also called, you would have heard in your studies that, you know, cradle to cradle approach. Have you heard about these approaches? Have you heard about cradle to grave, cradle to cradle? That you take it back into the system again. And that is what we are talking about as a circular economy, that the whatever which is called a waste is no more a waste. It is in fact is a big resource. All that plastic, it may be, we may be throwing it in, but you ask the rag picker. I mean, I'm going to the lower strata. You ask him, is it also a waste for you? He may be earning from that. All that waste which we have been throwing as a is no more of any use to us. It is a livelihood for someone. That let us not forget. Okay, and let me talk about the municipal solid waste only, because the circularity could be into any form and shapes. It could be into any business. It could be into any, even our domestic consumption, we talk about the circularity, right? कि भाई हम लोग ये करते हैं कि वहाँ बैग आया, अच्छा अगर है तो उसको नीचे रख लेते हैं, बेड के नीचे, and then we be utilizing it. Because if you see ourselves to be very highly, you know, community which are having this psyche of utilizing it again, you know, the kind of cloths which are never thrown away from our households, उसको हम किसी ना किसी काम में हमेशा लेते रहते हैं, जब तक कि उसकी situation हो जाती है कि it's no more of any use. So that is the situation today, which you won't find. I mean, if you go to America, you go to Europe and those places, they are not used to this kind of thing. और वो कहीं ना कहीं से अब हमारे यहाँ भी धीरे से आ गया. So when you have got the Amazon, you will find even you have got a small kind of item taken. So first it comes into a big packet, which is having a layered kind of a thing. Thereafter, there is a good plastic bag also is there, in which it has been kept. So you have been generating all these wastes there every time, which you do. Now the thing is, either we will keep on throwing that waste and creating again the mountains of heat, or the garbage which has been there, or can we use them again into some way? And this is what I'm going to show you here as a case study. I suppose there's time for at least 10 minutes, so I can take more for demonstrating a case study for us, and which is also going to be the kind of thing future which is happening today. Because as a budding, you know, those people which will be in the employment and maybe having a self-employment tomorrow for you and joining the jobs, I think you should know that what is happening outside the world and how the world is moving. Now, plastic, which you have said, and I can discuss with you about the FMCG companies, what kind of the extended producers responsibility they have, how they to collect the plastic bag, because it is almost like 1/3 of the plastic never comes back. It has been into such a way, it has been torn into such pieces that you cannot recover it, right? So, and when we talk about the municipal solid waste, there are different components of that. Can we segregate it? There is a wet waste, there is a dry waste, the inerts are there. And within the dry waste, you have got the entire range of things which are there. Every one of them, every bit of that could be recycled today, right? So let me introduce our company in a way. We are basically a climate change fund. which is very focused on the green growth, right? And even the government of India through NIF and government of UK, they have got the investments into it. And we cannot go into any developmental projects, so to call it, but we can go only the projects which are having a climate benefit, right? Having the circular economy. We have things like the e-mobility, like the e-buses into our platform. We have the renewable energy resources like the solar powers that is there as a part of our platform, and waste management. And I'm just talking today as waste management, what we are doing. So we have got different businesses, different segments of business. That will also give you a picture how a waste management business looks like, right? So there are different components of a waste management business. There is a collection and transportation. You would have seen the tippers are coming, or you have got the big vehicles, they come, they collect the waste. Of course, it's not very good sight to be there near around those vehicles, right? So very unpleasant. But yes, someone would be carrying out that work for you. That is not to, forget that. So we have something like 1,000 vehicles like that. They go into central Delhi and South Delhi and collect all that waste. That waste, in a way, end up into some of the other recycling plants or into the landfill site if it is no more plants available. Then we have got just next to Gazipur, there is a waste to energy plant which generates electricity out of the dry waste, which is of 1,300 tons per day, 12 megawatt of electricity it generates from the burning of the waste. That is and again, you have to segregate the waste so that having the enough calorific value to burn it to generate the power. Then compost plants, we have. Compost is something which is very well known. You would have seen the compost, aerobic composting. Then another very interesting thing, madam, if you think, anytime you have to take a delegation, we would be quite glad to host in some of these plants, like a C&D plant, construction and demolition plant, where all that debris and the civil kind of construction waste that comes to our plant, and that is generating useful products out of it. So like, the blocks, pavement, those kind of small tiles, and even sand. So sand, either you dig it from the riverbed, right? That's the natural sand. And you are damaging there, and there's a whole mafia plays out. Now here is something is a manufactured sand, which is coming out of the waste itself, which can again be used and having the same quality, which you can use. So there are 4 or 5 plants we have here in Delhi, and that can be good, if you want to see the first field by visiting those.
Sure, sir. I will
So,
definitely see that how many. There are few of our students who are very much interested in entrepreneurship also, so
Yeah.
they can also get some idea and they can develop their own.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
smart.
So that's the situation today. That almost like 75% of Delhi's C&D waste we recycle in any of these plants. So there are 5 plants. They take care of almost 75% of this one. Then the bio CNG. This is another thing which has come up, that the green waste which is there, the wet waste which is going for production of the bio CNG, like Reliance is into the gasoline and the CNG and all. Now there is a requirement that by the government of India, there is a policy that 5% of that should come from this kind of thing, from the bio CNG. And bio CNG is further refined and compressed, and then it is utilized into the buses and cars, just like having the same quality and calorific value, just like a normal natural gas based CNGs. So this is the point. And another thing which is again interesting, you will find every time we crib for the paddy burning in the Punjab and Haryana and UP, and those air that has been sweeping all that pollution towards Delhi. And from October onwards, we shut all our windows and doors, and so that because the situation becomes so much hazardous, and something is very, very polluting, which is very well known thing there. Here there are paddy straw which is been burned in Punjab and all. This is also used to make CBG, and we have got 6 plants in Punjab which is utilizing the paddy straw to make the CBG, which can be used again into the buses or put in the cascades and can be utilized in the industrial applications like boilers and all, which are otherwise are fed by the fossil fuel like coal and oil and gas. This can be done by the CBG. Another waste material which is the press mud which is coming out of sugar industry. Again, we have couple of plants under operation today, which is, so this is a demonstration already there in terms of they are there. And very close to Noida and Greater Noida, and there are 4 other places in UP itself. We have got new plants are coming on the municipal solid waste, because the government of UP is thrust onto the collection of waste and further going for this kind of operations. So let me quickly, because I may be running out of time, that the SDG, which is very much is a core of our operations, and this is a demonstration, this was there much earlier. So these at least 5, I can see these SDG goals, which are there, like water, like responsible consumption, climate change, and the decent work and innovation. These are all very much part of our policy and process and the kind of working which we have been doing there. Because the impact, I will show in the last slide that how we are calculating our impacts as out of whatever we are doing. So this is also good way of seeing our performance from time to time. So this is the collection and transportation business. I have just given some slide on that. Some pictures are there, like how do we collect? Almost like 2,500 tons per day. These are getting collected and utilized in somewhere or others. And this is the power plant, which is generating 12 megawatt green power. And so this green electricity is also fed to the grid. And nowadays, if you want, you can take out from the grid the green electricity. So it is fed by the solar power or fed by this kind of a waste to energy plants. And this is for the construction demolition waste plant. So almost like 1.71 million tons of waste we would have processed over the period of time. So first, when the Commonwealth Games were held in Delhi in 2010, that time the first plant came. And then after there are others. So this kind of products you can see, they are made out of this, like the tiles and all, which are in a way looking nice, just like any other ordinary tiles, which you will find very ornamental. And this is the plant I would like also to touch upon, that is in Indore. Indore, you must be knowing, that is the cleanest city in the Swachh Bharat survey, right? And they have come clean and number 1 6 times in a row. So for last 6 years, they've been number 1. And this plant, do you know who inaugurated the plant last year? This was none other than the Prime Minister himself. So he inaugurated the plant because the first such plant in India, or largest plant, first such a big plant in India, is more than 500 tons per day. Kind of. So it takes care of the entire wet waste of Indore city and making the bio-CNG. And we have the gas filling station inside the plant, which fills the gases into the buses. And anaerobic digestion is nothing but, the biogas, which is a very well known thing for over the period of time. Maybe, for many, many decades and centuries, we know the anaerobic digestion. But what the UN documents say, that it is the way for addressing the UN development SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. So many goals can be addressed through the anaerobic digestion route, which is what we have been following. Because it takes care of the renewable energy, methane capture, emission from landfill, carbon emissions, vehicular emissions. Many of these things can be taken care of by a single use of the waste going into the bio-CNG. And this is nothing but just a schematic of how we do it. It's a bioconversion in the digesters, and it is going further refinement so that upgrading the gas of methane to more than 90%. Right. And just last slide onto this, I want to draw your attention in terms of these are the KPIs which we track from time to time, right? And which is in terms of how much waste we have processed, how much is the gas, the GHG emissions we would have avoided, then population benefited, how much is the virgin material we could avoid by utilizing the CND waste, right? Then how many are the value added products are made, number of them, because they are of different shapes, sizes and weight. So number of them. Then how much is the compost, because it is not only the gas, compost can also replace the chemical fertilizer in the fields. So Indore plant also manufactures about 100 tons of the compost every day in a way. So you have got the gas of something like 17 tons and 100 tons of the compost and green electricity, and we also provide the employment. So in a way, it is addressing so many SDGs as you could find, into the livelihood, into the population getting benefited, and having many wins which are there. Because you are in one stroke, you have done away with the land requirement, with the water, with the kind of pollution which may have been there. Otherwise, this waste would have been created. And on the other hand, you are able to reduce the resources and able to reduce the carbon footprints of that business where you have been utilizing the energy which is produced from the utilization of the waste. So that's it. And then finally, so what you would be doing, as you will say that, so what is in there for me? So there are a number of things you can do, and you would have heard about 4 hours. Here I have extended that definition to 9 hours, in fact. So you have got things like, the refuge where there is a waste which is having a energy. You have to rethink about the business process which is there, or system: reduce, reuse, recycle, repair, refurbish. Many things like our is a big industry for mobile repair or car repair or computer repair. So that way we are able to extend the life cycle of the products. So we are not junking it every time. Recover, repurpose is that from one purpose it is being utilized for some other purposes. Like fly ash, if it is there generating from the power plants, can be utilized in the cement making, or slag from a steel plant can be utilized in cement making. So that is the repurposing. And participate into bioenergy, renewable energy, waste management. These are big fields, big areas which are going to unfold before you when you join the job market. And green jobs into various forms in terms of the consultancy, advisory services, technology providers, business associates, like, you have dealership or you are the technology providers, ESG related services. ESG is something the professionals are hot in demand today. Let me tell you. So they are, in a way, if you become a ESG professional, you will see that more than one, there are people are there which would be approaching to you. And software tools are the other things. So yeah, thank you very much for very patient listening. And
So I think it was a complete loop was completed, as our honorable VC ma'am always says. And we had a problem, and we also found a solution. So in that way, I think it is the responsibility of the young ones to take this forward and save our Mother Earth. That is what I can say. And thank you, Sandeep sir, for giving us these insights. Although we all were, I was knowing about it, but I think that we have, awareness is always an issue. And we tend to forget after moving out of this hall about sustainability, which has to be in our minds, as Preeti ma'am has said. So I think students, we all should be taking care of this. And you should, and you have another goal. You can be an ESG, right? ESG professional, so that companies will be coming to you rather.
any questions?
So any questions, sir? Is yes.
Good morning, respected sir. Sir, I think one of the major challenges of circular economy in India is reluctance to industries due to reasons like supply chain limitations and complex recycling processes and so on. So, sir, will the companies align circular economy initiatives with the climate goals, or continue to treat them as discrete initiatives?
Yeah, you have a very right question in terms of to have a proper circular economy or circularity of those resources, you have to have the supply chain. Now, but the thing is that I am more optimistic on this. Yes. And as I have seen in last few years, things have also moved. I'll take just one example of the plastic waste. Now, you ask any FMCG company, HUL, or you have got the ITC or any of these today, and you ask them whether you have got a plastic related EPR, I think, and then not only they would be knowing, they would be able to tell you on their tips, they would be how much they are paying for the recycling of that plastic. Because what is the EPR, by the way? EPR is that how much the plastic you are putting out in the market, you have to collect it back, right? So earlier, what happened that I was into a private to all these discussions used to be there. They were making this as a goal for HUL to collect back their own plastic, which didn't work. Now, so what is the other alternative? That to create the recyclers, right? And they will be doing on your behalf the recycling, because HUL may not be into a company into recycling of plastics. They were into so many other things. So there are other recyclers. And would you be surprised if I'll share with you that at least 125 recyclers today in India, which would have come in last 3-4 years time, right? So they make the granules, they make the toys of the plastic. In fact, very interesting study which we did for our cement bags, because cement bag is not entirely plastic bag. It is having the tapes are there which have been woven. It's a woven tape bag, and those tapes are of plastic, right? And something like how much we calculated that if 80 gram per bag is there and so many billions of bag we are sending it out, how much would be the plastic? So we could find that it was about 40,000 tons in a year we have been putting out, right? Now, so what we can do in terms of mopping up 40,000 tons plastic from the from the market and from the community and all. So we said that okay, our kiln is there anyways running to make clinker, right? So we can use the plastic and use in the kilns, right? And which kind of plastic can be available? So there's a non-recyclable type, which is called MLP, multi-layer plastic, which can not be recycled. Just like you would have seen कि जैसे pouches और ये सब में रहते हैं, अंदर जो layer रहती है, वो जो है उसको आप recycle नहीं कर सकते. उसको cannot taken out and you can recycle it because it's firmly pasted. So that kind of a situation. And again, from this was a target even before EPR, which we have taken there. That was fortunately a progressive organization where in 2013-14 we have taken that we will be at least burning 40,000 tons in our kilns. And we ended up after 3 or 4 years 90,000 tons of plastic into the kilns, because we are able to find the this kind of materials. Even from the laminates, from paper industry, they were able to supply that kind of a plastic to us. So today you see, and CPCB has got a portal where even right from the producers of the plastic bags, etc., they have to register. Then those are the those who have been throwing out the bags, the manufacturers of different materials, they have to register. Then recyclers have to register. So there is a proper channelization of waste is also getting tracked, and there is a price to it, because the HUL is ready to pay. I remember I worked with Aditya Birla, Hindalco, which is an aluminium company, which is not a FMCG company. Only thing is that in whatever bars and all that ingots of aluminium, they are wrapping into plastic. And would you imagine how much was the implication, financial implication to them? 6 crores of rupees per year, which they've been paying to the recyclers for getting rid of their EPR requirement. So I am very, very hopeful. It is not there everywhere in all the reams of the various materials, but the way plastic has shown and others, other material like I know in cement industry, all that fly ash, all kinds of organic waste that goes to cement industry to burn there into the kilns. All hazardous waste that goes to cement industry. Can you believe it? So there are various ways of there, but I recognize this point that have to have the supply chain there. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Good morning, sir. Will the actions we take today be enough to forestall the direct impacts of climate change, or is it too little, too late?
Yeah. So if you, it is a much larger question, climate change. So we are at, we wanted 1.5 degree. I told you what is the difference between 2 degree and 1.5 degree, and where we are today. where we are today? Any idea? So we are at 3.5 degrees, right? And where we have to go? 1.5 degree. So, and what is the time period? Otherwise, we would have missed the bus completely. Is by 2030. Yeah, so next 7-8 years are there in your hand. Otherwise, we'll miss the bus. So that is the situation. Here we are talking about this temperature to be attained by the mid of century, right? So, I mean, doing the efforts by mid of the century to attain the temperature by the end of century. But the action has to take place within 8 years' time. Otherwise, we would never be able to get it. It won't be recycled, something which is resilient enough to come back. Right? Okay.
So we will take one more question, I think. Some enthusiasts.
Good morning, sir. My question is, will moving towards a circular economy requires change in consumer behavior?
Very good question. Again, whether you go to market and you look for those recyclable things, in Amazon, whether you find those recyclable things, if not, and first of all, Amazon, you should teach a lesson that they should not send so many of this, a blanket and all that, so much of, the packaging materials. The thing is that nowadays, the clothes made out of plastic, they are also available. Whether you know this? The clothes are made out of plastic.
Yeah, I said that.
Yeah, you have been. Oh, yes. In Reliance, I think, yes, the fashion which you have told.
No, otherwise,
So otherwise
I mean,
also.
yeah, because
Yeah.
we are making so much of plastic.
Plastic in there, so you have to, yes, negate that effect. So these are there. So always when you go for, can you look for a brand where there is a recyclable logo is there, that arrow, something like that. You can ask about that. So, and very much into the hands of the consumers, that whether you want, and both in the business to business segment and the business to C customer segment. Yeah.
So I think conscious consumption is always a subject that we need to work on. And so all the economic students who are studying consumption should focus on conscious consumption and judicious consumption. So I think, thank you so much, sir. Yes.
Thank you so much, Sandeep sir, for your valuable insights and kind words. Now, I humbly request our HY, Professor Kavita Indapurkar ma'am and Professor Neeru Sidana ma'am to facilitate our guest of honors today. Starting with Professor Preeti Srivastava ma'am and Professor Sandeep Srivastava.
Yes, humanity. How can you miss it?
Can I have a round of applause, everybody? Rise a round of applause, please. The end of all the knowledge should be of service to others. And with that note, we would like to invite conference convener Dr. Neeru Sudana ma'am to extend the vote of thanks to everyone gathered here.
A very good afternoon to all. Thank you is such a prayer that cannot be seen or touched. It must be felt by heart. I feel honored and privileged to get the opportunity to propose a vote of thanks on this special occasion. I would like to thank all the honorable delegates who blessed us with their presence and made it convenient to attend this inaugural program of hybrid 6th National Conference organized by Amity School of Economics, Amity University, Noida. I, on behalf of our organizing committee, convey my deep regards and hearty thanks to our Honorable Founder President, Sir Dr. Ashok Chauhan ji, for their kind blessing and giving note for this conference. We owe to you, sir. We are thankful to worthy Chancellor Dr. Atul Chauhan ji for giving guidance and extended his kind support from very beginning. Thank you very much, sir. We are thankful to our visionary Vice Chancellor, ma'am, Professor Dr. Balwinder Shukla ji. Madam, under your ever leadership, this event could be possible. Thanks from the core of heart for your kind concern and care. We are thankful to our guests of honor for their august presence and insightful words, Ms. Priti Srivastava, Senior Vice President, Corporate Affairs and Reliance Industry, and, Dr. S.P. Sharma, Chief Economist, DSG, PSG, Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Your contribution have made this conference a success, and we are grateful for your presentations. We are thankful to you, sir, and ma'am, from bottom of our heart. Today, my words are not enough to express the gratitude to our keynote speaker, Mr. Sandeep Srivastava, Ever Enviro Resource Management as Head ESG. Sir, your valuable presence and words exchanged today will enlighten the way in future also. We pay regard to our Professor Dr. D.K. Bandyopadhyay, sir, Chairperson FRC, Advisor FPO Amity University, Noida. I would like to thank our Head of Department, Professor Dr. Kavita Indrapurkar, ma'am, for his constant help and guidance that radiated a source of energy within us. We are very much thankful to all our informal, formal faculty colleagues and non-teaching staff members who stand by us and motivate us. An event of this dimension cannot happen overnight. The wheels start rolling months in advance. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very motivated and dedicated student committee. As convener of this conference, I personally thanks to one and all associated with this event for their contribution. Thank you so much.
I request the guests and the faculty members to join us for high tea.
Guys, you're kindly requested to join us back for the panel discussion at 12:15 sharp. 12:15.
Anupa ma'am is already here. Hello ma'am. We will start shortly. Dr. Nasir, Professor Rachita Rana, and Professor Dr. Anupama Rawat to please switch on their cameras.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Vanshika, you can start.
Good afternoon, everyone. So the theme of our panel discussion is people's participation in achieving sustainable development goals. The idea of development has evolved itself, and the world today has joined hands to set its goals and targets and achieve them. Accordingly, sustainable development goals have been set wherein all aspects of human development are taken care of. Sustainable development requires to be inclusive, to adhere to the needs of the poorest and the most vulnerable. meeting sustainable development goals, and at the same time ensuring inclusivity requires action on a number of fronts, including harnessing and maximizing the potential of technological innovation
मुझे नीचे आना पड़ा ये सब.
and, most importantly, people's participation. People's participation is essential to ensure that the goals to eliminate poverty and hunger, ensure good health and well being, provide quality education to all, ensure gender equality, provide clean water and sanitation are achieved successfully. People's participation in achieving sustainable development goals can be in the form of responsible consumption and production. People can reduce their environmental footprint by adopting sustainable practices in their daily lives. This can include reducing waste, using eco friendly products, and conserving energy. People can also participate in civic activities such as voting, attending public meetings, and engaging with elected officials. This can help to ensure that sustainable development policies are implemented at the local, national, and international levels. In today's time, social media has become an important part of people's lives. People can use these platforms to share information and raise awareness about sustainable development issues, thus, helping in building momentum and bringing positive change. Last but not the least, people can contribute to achieve the sustainable development goals by volunteering their time and skills to organizations that are working towards these goals. Over to Sarah.
Now, to enlighten us more on this theme, we have an esteemed panel of experts who will be sharing their valuable insights and knowledge with us today. Our panelists come from diverse backgrounds and bring with them a wealth of experience in their respective fields. They have been carefully selected for their expertise and are well known in the industry for their contributions and achievements. We are honored to have them here with us today, and we look forward to hearing their thoughts and ideas on the various topics of discussion. We hope that their perspectives will enlighten us and help us to gain a deeper understanding of the issue at hand. Now, kindly join me, everybody, in welcoming our first distinguished panelist, Ms. Subhra Das. Ms. Subhra Das is a senior project manager at Saha Zero Waste and manage overall Zero Waste program in Bangalore. She has been associated with this organization for the last 2 years. She holds an MBA degree in urban management and governance and have worked with leading corporate companies like Infosys for the brief period of 2.5 years in the past. We welcome you, ma'am. Can I have a huge round of applause, everybody?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Further, extending my warm welcome to our next esteemed panelist, Dr. Nasir ul Haq Wani, sir. Dr. Nasir did his PhD in International Business and Trade from Mittal School of Business, Lovely Professional University, India. Currently, Dr. Nasir is the Director of the Department of Research and Development and Professor at Carden University, Kabul, Afghanistan. He has served in different private and public sector universities in South Asia. He has published more than 60 research papers, articles, and documentaries in world-class journals indexed in WOS, Scopus, Clarivate Analytics, ABDC, Carden Publishing, and Schimago. Credited with a decade of rich academic and research experience, he has been involved in several training and consultancy projects on research-related issues funded by World Bank, USAID, and HEDP. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, welcoming our third esteemed panelist, Dr. Rachita Rana, ma'am. Rachita Rana, ma'am, has done her MBA, MA, PGDEE, PGDM, and PhD in economics. She has published 52 research papers, edited 7 books, presented 59 papers in national and international conferences and seminars. She is currently director at Institute of Information Technology and Management, New Delhi GGSIP University. She has worked at TASMAC, Training and Advanced Studies in Management and Communication, affiliated to University of Wales, UK, Nagar. She has also worked as a research officer in ICSSR research project from April 1998 to March 31st, 2000. We wholeheartedly welcome you, ma'am. On to welcoming our next esteemed panelist, Dr. Anupama Rawat, ma'am. Dr. Anupama Rawat is a PhD in economics with 33 plus years of experience of teaching economics at collegiate and university level. She's a registered PhD supervisor at Barkatullah University, Bhopal, and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University of Social Sciences. Trained as a regional planner, she is dedicated to work for the marginalized communities and heaven bent on their inclusion with the mainstream. Her research interest includes developmental studies, cultural studies, gender studies, and also public policy, where she has been a principal investigator. A passionate teacher at heart and educational administrator by experience. She has authored and co-authored many research publications in national, international, peer-reviewed journals, Scopus, indexed, and UGC care listed journals. She is a development economist by practice, and 5 PhDs have been awarded in this field under her able guidance. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So the moderator of our today's session is Professor Dr. Kavita Indrapurkar ma'am. Professor Dr. Indrapurkar ma'am, with an experience of teaching in higher education institutions in India for over 25 years, has held several academic leadership positions and is presently professor and is heading the School of Economics at Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, Noida campus. A PhD in economics and an MBA in finance, qualified at national level test for teaching in higher education in India, Professor Dr. Kavita Indrapurkar finds her research interest at the crossroads of behavioral aspects of people as consumers of various goods and or services, or how do they make decisions with respect to formulating inflationary expectations, or how do they decide their plan for their retirement, or how artistic logic leads to economic dilemma among the artists. She has a flair for teaching students at graduate and the postgraduate level and enjoys teaching research methodology, money and banking, and regional economics. She has 8 scholars under her, working in various areas like financial literacy, consumer behavior, retirement confidence, financial inclusion, public policy, to name a few. Many of her research papers are published in journals of repute that are indexed with Scopus and WOS. She has edited a few books on sustainable development, research methodology, and money and banking. She has keen interest in working on primary data and undertakes several workshops for the same. Ma'am, kindly come and moderate the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanshika. I request everyone to please find a seat for themselves. So, I'm asking the camera person if it is possible to focus, or you want me to stand there. Thank you. So, thank you everyone for your kind presence and accepting the invitation. I think I should stand, or I should come this side. Okay. So I think this is better now. So thank you, Anupama ma'am, and thank you, Nasir ji. Thank you, Subra ma'am. So I would like to start this very important. This has been curated by me and one of my colleagues, Professor Namita, about the people's participation in achieving the sustainable goals. Now, because we have come a very long way talking about environment, and I'm sure that just like me, many of us over here have grown up with the dilemmas of attaining growth and maintaining the environment. However, with Sustainable Development Goals, commonly called as SDGs, we have evolved over the years, not just talking about environment in isolation, but also about the burning issues of this part of the world, about health, decent work, empowerment, judicious use of resources, and so on. When I say this, I do not feel that the concept is imported. It is actually our traditional wisdom, and we always, word like this about the judicious consumption, about, being simple, simplicity, the highest virtue. So, all these things have always been there in our traditional wisdom. And we just have to map our old traditional practices and see that how closely they are related to this imported idea of SDGs. I welcome all the esteemed panelists for today. That is on one of the most challenging topics, and we have a lot of rounds of awareness and policy making. We stand here at the crossroads where we, the people of the country, the citizens of the world, have to participate and engage in this daunting task of achieving the SDGs. So India has adopted certain SDGs as mission that comprises of 8 core areas, that are solar energy, enhanced energy efficiency, sustainable habitat, water, sustaining Himalayan ecosystem, green India, sustainable agriculture, and strategic knowledge for climate change. How can we move ahead with our sustainable development mission and make people participate in the real world is the question today. So I bring forth Madam Subhra Das to ask this, because she is working with a very important Sahas Zero Waste organization, and which dares to say that zero waste is possible. So I would like to go to Subhra ma'am on this, that how we can make people participate in the real world so that we have zero waste.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Well, when we talk about zero waste, and we all are surprised by the term that waste can also be zero, but it is true. It is true when people, when stakeholders, when people from grassroots level till the government organization, all the stakeholders join hand together with the same vision and the same mission, there is a synergies between them, then we can definitely reach to a zero waste level. As you said, I work with a waste management company. The name of our company is Sahas Waste Management, with the brand name of Sahas Zero Waste. We work with multiple organizations, tech parks here in Bangalore, across Chennai, Hyderabad, Goa, Noida. So we face multiple challenges where we see a lot of mixed waste coming. So the root cause of going zero waste is segregation. That starts right from our home, that starts right from our institution, that starts right from any institution. What we forget to do is segregation, which is just so easy. Dry waste separate, wet waste separate, and then we are good to go. The rest of the process is handled by players like us, who segregate dry waste into 43 other categories so that it is sent to the right end destination for recycling. The wet waste again is sent for composting or biogas generation, and a very minimal of around 3% of waste generated goes to landfill. Recently, there has been this news, all over there, where we have the Brahmapuram landfill at Kochi caught fire. The place of Kochi was literally having toxic fumes all around, and people were not able to breathe. This has happened with not only my colleagues, but one of my extended family who was staying there in Kochi. So who is responsible for that? It is we who is responsible. We have to do the segregation right from our end, so that the final product is zero waste. I have seen many people say that if we do the segregation, anyways, the kabadi walas, anyways, the municipal corporation people will mix it. Why do we do the segregation? But let's think it on a different view, that if we do the segregation, maybe the kabadi walas will think that, oh, everybody is segregating, then might as well have 2 separate compartments for dry and wet. So this is a behavioral change, I would say, which comes right from the root level, which needs to be handled and tackled and solved. Or else we have multiple problems like the triple planetary crisis, where climate change, pollution, biodiversity loss issues has to be tackled. But when we talk about such higher level, and we are not doing a bare minimum thing, which is segregating waste from our home, it is a question mark to our integrity. So I would open up the discussion to rest of the panelists, but I want to start off with this. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. It is true. I was talking in the corners today in the inaugural session also that I mean, people are demotivated to segregate the waste. The reason being that it is dumped later on, by others. So, but yes, there is another perspective to it that we keep on segregating, and one day they will also realize that there has to be two different bins. So yes, it has to be a two-way process, I think. Now, further moving on, I would say that educators have a prime role when we can not only preach but also practice and preach the simplicity and judicious use of resources to the society. So I would like to invite Anupama ji, who has vast experience of working with the marginalized communities for their inclusion, thus participating in the inclusive growth.
Thank you so much for inviting me here, and I'm really honored to be a panelist, and my wishes to all the fellow panelists here. I welcome all of you on the dais as well. Coming from an educational background, as Kavita rightly said, and I don't know how she guessed because we didn't speak on what I'm going to speak about. So that was not defined, but somehow she guessed right. And yes, I'm working in a big way for the marginalized communities, so it is closer to my heart. But when I was hearing Shubhra say, we have been talking a lot about moral policing, doing that, how to do things right. So when we talk about people's perception towards attaining sustainable development goals, we try to change the behavioral pattern. Fine, it's required. It's definitely required. We need to understand that people need to change. They need to first start doing themselves, like Shubhra mentioned, and that is how the change would occur. But this is too much of moral policing also, which we do. We don't realize that the whole globe, are different geographies, different demographies, coming from different ethnicities, from different histories altogether. That's very important to understand here. Now, here, when we talk about people's perception are built by what? Their social ethos, their political ethos, their cultural ethos, from where they come. That's very important to understand. The histories, the geographies, the demographies, that's why I mentioned. So when we talk about that space, that political space, that cultural space, that social space, no one space defines that. The people's perception are built over a year. Now, I'm going to talk about a very important and interesting aspect of innovation and sustainability. They are at loggerheads, and they are just juxtaposed things. Because as an economist, I know Kuznets curve, and you talk about environment and development, there is a trade-off. So when we develop environmental concerns, they take a back seat. That has been the theory. And we know that today market has failed. So when we teach environmental economics or environment and development, we start from market failure. So I want to create a narrative before coming to any judgment or what exactly is right, to build up people's perceptions, because there is a historicity, there is a historical evidence, there is history to the whole of the human mankind which we are today. We are different ethnicities, we are different languages, we are different creed, caste, societies and religions. Now taking best of Quran or Bible or Mahabharata or Gita and preaching and giving a moral lesson you should do right is not the answer. People's perception are built by not only this thing, but we are at a very turning point in human mankind where there is innovation at its peak, and we are in AI. We are facing they are glaring examples of AI. I mean, it's a true reality that we are building a human clone, and we are into post-humanist era already entered. So are we having a fear? We definitely have a fear. If, technological disruptions, the AI might disrupt our whole advancement, whole progress. But the progress we did, definitely these 100 years, I need to mention this very profoundly. Maybe from 1870, why I'm picking up that year, because the steam engine comes into picture and the whole thing changes. And from 2000, the turning of the century, in 2010 maybe, if we take these years, these have been profoundly very good years as far as mankind development is. But somewhere progress has taken a backseat. I don't say we have progress, because we have gone down very badly in terms of, in terms of inequalities. And there are profound level of inequalities found today, never found in the history of mankind as we are today. And we are in the best of ages when we have the best of luxuries for the mankind, which never, because we have come out of real poverty. 90% of the population before 1800 used to be in poverty. And now we are out of poverty, but the rate at which the inequalities are glaring and growing is tremendous. The rate I'm talking, it's huge. So somewhere we have come a long way, progressing, galloping. The South, the North dialogues, the North countries, the South countries trying to pick up the North, and the North actually galloping ahead. We have examples of, we have Nasir with us. I don't know which country he belongs to, maybe Afghanistan, India, Pakistan, so many examples, Bangladesh, and they're galloping ahead. The kind of development Taiwan has witnessed, unprecedented, 20% and above in 2020. And now, you see the other countries, the Asian countries coming in, the Asian triangle. But somewhere, what has taken the backseat? The backseat, somewhere we have not defined mankind, humanity in its true sense. We have not defined the cultural ethos. We have not defined the perspectives clearly to people, and on which the people's perceptions are built. Today in India is a reality that, Nasir, let me tell you, that people's perception are built by media. A person is made a hero, a person is made a villain. I don't need to name, but that is happening and we can do it. And the AI allows us to do that. Now, in that kind of a situation, when we are standing on a turning note in the history, where we are facing post-humanism, and a machine man is a reality, maybe a biological man also is a reality tomorrow, maybe not blood, but flesh and blood could also come. We don't know. So we are living in that fear. Now, how do we build the people's perception around those fear? See, when anybody goes through the Sustainable Development Goals, any of the website, you'll see disability in a very broad way written there. Okay, now why disability? We're talking that 2030, when we touch upon the Sustainable Development Goals, align ourselves or try to achieve them, disability should be on the forefront. That is including the people who don't have a voice, who don't have the ability to do certain things. So somewhere we are redefining competition, because AI and algorithms and the machine learning and the today's technological age has come through a fierce competition. Today's corporate structure, when we are talking in Noida, in Amity University, a lot of corporates here, big corporate houses coming here. I have seen when I was coming here, we were bombarded with advertisements. So in the corporate reality, if we talk about one unit of a company, maybe, what is the perception around retention, around employee satisfaction? Because we talk about innovation is very good. We talk about competition, but what kind of competition? So when we talk about disability as the main thing, we have to do away with competition. And I am really speaking from heart about this, because competition has led us to a market failure. I'm given the opportunity, I would like to, take out the historical evidence of it and the whole historicity of it, because I'll take it up on other people's time, but I would like to evaluate that in an historical text and sense. A very beautiful book written by, I would like to name, and I'll show the book over here. It's a wonderful book. Please, everybody should read. And that is The Sloughing Towards Utopia and Economic History of the 20th Century, J. Bradford DeLong from UC Berkeley. It was just, I chanced upon, I was reading this book. It just happened, since I was reading, and this also happened. So somewhere these things echo into you. But what is the reality today? We are with technology, we are with competition, we are with market. Now we are also a history wherein after depression, Keynes' theory comes into picture and says, okay, government's role is important. And now again today in 2020, after the pandemic, the government becomes suddenly so important. Is it back to Keynesian economics? No, not exactly, but somewhere we are talking about the same thing. So, there is history which has goods, bads, and uglies. We need to learn from that. Refraining from history, taking that from the textbook of the schools is not the answer, but giving a 360 perspective view to our students who are sitting here all across, reading from everywhere, and not refraining them from not reading that should be the answer. So the inclusivity is the only answer, because we know all the Sustainable Development Goals spell out inclusion. Each and everyone, if you pick up, without inclusivity, you cannot talk. But what kind of inclusivity are we talking about? Inclusivity about the space, the political space, the space of dialogue, the space of ethnicities, the social space, the cultural space, from where it will come? Let me answer that also in a very short way. I'll come again and elaborate on this. But I think when we lose the real literature, the real fervor, the poetry, we lose the humanity. And that's the biggest danger if we see across the geographies in the world where we have fascist regimes coming up. There is a pull down, there is a curb on the literature, there's curb on poetry, there's curb on, and humanity cannot be answered. And I don't think people's perception can change without good literature, without creating those spaces, without including and creating space for everyone around us. In the space of technological revolution with AI, it is more fear for us. And how do we overcome that fear is through bringing up some kind of, people's perception on accepting everybody's ethnicity, everybody's class, everybody's gender, everybody's each other's, respecting that. And how that comes through discourse, that comes through changing the narrative, educating the people in the truer sense, giving them a 360-degree perspective of each and everything, whether poetry, literature, history, or anything for that matter. Thank you so much for my opening remarks. I took a lot of time. Sorry for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Anupama ji. Because her research interests include developmental studies, cultural studies, gender studies, and also public policy. So I think that made her take a little more time. But at the same time, yes, I can make that out that Madam was speaking from heart and wanted really the young people who are sitting here today. I think around 200 students are sitting here from UG and PG, Madam, listening to you and, to all of us. Because we are trying to find out how people can participate in achieving the sustainable development goals. So moving ahead with my two other panelists, Dr. Nasir and Madam Rachita. Thank you, ma'am, for joining. You got late. There was an elaborate, introduction of yours, and I think you missed that. So welcome.
Thank you so much for a warm welcome.
So educators, madam, as I earlier also said, we have a prime role, we have a key role to play as mentors of the young minds that have large capacities and a lot of energies. These energies, I think, and I feel I'm also a practicing professor, so these energies need to be channelized. And today's environment, the economic environment, is providing us with opportunities where we can make our students innovate, think in a very thinking out of box. And what role do we have to play so that these people, these students who are going to become the global citizens tomorrow can participate in the sustainable development goals. So I'll start with Nasir Haq ji and then Rachita ma'am.
Thank you for getting me a chance to speak up at this occasion. So basically, I belong to a country. Basically, I'm from India, but right now posted in Kabul, Afghanistan. So we have a different perspective, different understanding, and different insights on achieving these SDGs. So we all know that our world needs to be a better place. For example, Dr. Anupama, she had a brilliant eloquency on the insight she presented from the real perspective from Indian scenario, and same from the Shubra side. But I would be much more taking the lead on the research perspective, how we can actually practically involve, for example, the humans, I could say people's participation in realization of SDGs. What is my belief is that if there is one thing the world actually doesn't need, it's more talk. We need more words which are actually unsupported by concrete steps. That is actually leading to a fallacy that we are just doing lip services and doing that, do that. Finally, there is nothing at the outcome. So we should stop talking about. So we should stand up for a sustainable world that requires taking actions. If we are wondering how we can bring people on board, how we can encourage people to be sustainable, It starts by reframing sustainability goals like the ones which have been developed by UN and implementing them into our life. We can create our own personal sustainability goals and share them with our, for example, with our friends, with our people, with our colleagues. Maybe that might rationalize a way how we can encompass, how we can dream of realizing those SDGs. We can setting sustainability examples in everyday life is the first step. This is my understanding and my experience of it. We can encourage others to be sustainable. For example, let's talk about I would mainly taking three things into consideration. That is, for example, what could be the possible ways of, for example, achieving no poverty, zero hunger, and affordable clean energy. We have estimates. Looking at the estimates which are being provided by UNDP or by UN, we're saying that 700 million people are living in extreme poverty. 700 million people, it is not a joke, 700 million. And the per capita income, it is 1.90 per dollar per day. So again, giving a vicious circle of poverty which people are facing, and the majority of these people are living in Southern Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. Extreme poverty is not the problem in only underdeveloped countries. Right now, there are over 30 million children who are growing up in developed nations as well. So that's an alarm. So in richest countries, if we see that 30 million children are growing up, so there is a need of policy discourse. There is a need of where government players as stakeholders or UN as a stakeholder has to come into the role to play as sort of a catalyst. So that's why we can have the best way or the most prolific way to end poverty once for all is to use our voice and active engagement. Active engagement, I mean here, for example, to petition policymakers and private industry to prioritize addressing extreme poverty. So we can eradicate the poverty, although it looks very easy in saying so on the policy front, it needs a lot of efforts and actual sense. Because what I suggest is that if the world's poorest people are given access to tools, meaningful jobs, quality education, and affordable healthcare, to name a few. So, research, there have been thousands of research papers by different authorities on this social domain, and everybody is pitching to a common recommendation is that if the governance and institutions are accountable, that can be the foundation for inclusive economic growth. But I don't see it in except in West. But when it comes to the South Asian diaspora, these things are missing from the documentation. This is research saying. I'm not saying. I have been an active member of Afghanistan Peace Development Framework. That is an agency which is run by UNDP and HEDP. I have all these billions or millions are wasted, but in reality, we don't achieve anything. So that's why the first statement which is started that we have to come out of the talks. Let's come on the ground for the concrete things. My kudos to Dr. Anupama Prem bringing the real insights that what actually is. If I see the political stance, if I see the corporate prism and academia, so we are missing a cohesion together. We have one philosophy, academia has a different, so that's why it brings hodgepodge and nothing comes on the ground. So we can use our voice, we can write a letter, we can send an email, we can pick up a phone, call our, for example, legislators, so we can press the demand to pass legislation that would take action to end extreme poverty. So see, the point here is again the political class, because if I take the principles of economics, a country flourishes if the political class is having the ability and capability to move on. We are policymakers, but at the end, if the political stance is, I could say, shriveled, so nothing could be done. So the nexus, the linkage between the economic institutions or policymakers with the political class has to go a long way in order to guarantee the achievement or I could say achieving these SDGs. That's up from my side on no poverty. Thank you.
Thank you, Nasirji. Yes, true that it is about the extreme poverty that is, I think, the major chunk. And when we are done with that, Only then can we talk about sustainable development goals that need to be achieved. I move on to Rachita ma'am. We are in Delhi and Noida region, where we have good number of students who can be mentored, so that we can look ahead in achieving the sustainable development goals. At the same time, when Anupama madam, who is in the other parts, in the town B areas, where she can work towards mentoring her own students, which she has set the tone of telling us about how it is important to read history and literature and all. So, Rachita ma'am, what is your take on we being the mentors of these young minds?
Yes, thank you so much. Now, coming on to this panel, it is very well depicted by Dr. Anupama, giving the insights onto the Sustainable Development Goals. And Dr. Nasir said very rightly that we need to be taking complete cognizance with respect to the outcome. That means we are aware of the inputs. We know, yes, these are the problems. We have identified those areas, which is also well laid down in the Sustainable Development Goals. And we know that outcome has to be there. That means we need to move on or move to the next level of the development that we have already achieved, because that's the aspect of the growth component. But then ensuring that no one is left behind. When we are talking about no one being left behind, that means we have to be very specific onto the actions or what we do. That's most important, because then only we'll be able to identify the outcomes. Because today the generation, like Anupama ma'am said, it is artificial intelligence, the machine learnings, which is taken in total growth aspect. That means from Homo sapiens, we have become Homo technicus. So let's use this platform wherein we could take the actions, especially coming into the innovative components. We are talking about the production, we are talking about the consumerism, we are talking about the e-commerce, wherein there is a very high level of integration of technology with the human beings. So let's use this platform to take an action where we are creating awareness in respect of the sustainability, be it the climate change, be it optimum utilization of the resources. Because whenever you're trying to give inputs, you are ultimately trying to influence the behavioralistic aspect. That's becoming very important nowadays, right? Whether it is at school level. So if we are sensitizing the young generation, and where we as mentors, as faculty members, or the practicing educators, if we have to do, we can definitely be the change makers. Because whenever a child who is growing in the education area, where even this has been highlighted in the NEP, which is aligned to the 4th Sustainable Development Goal, we have changed the education system. So a child in the initial years, if is given the value system, wherein they are taught about the well-being, they are sensitized about the equality, accepting everyone at par. When they grow up as individuals, they are able to manage themselves. We are talking about the Human Happiness Index. Because a stable human being who is able to comprehend things, is able to appreciate the concerns, then only is able to take a right decision. So when we are talking about the climate change, we are talking about the pollution, we are talking about basically to water scarcity, we need to optimum utilize it. So this will practically come into the actions that we need to take in. First is comparing the campaigns, be active participants in it. So that means we have to sensitize our students that these activities which are being conducted at the institutions are not without a goal. They have a well laid down goal, because indirectly we are trying to instill in you these awareness or sensitize you to these concerns, be it sustainability, be it environmental change, be it the using of the technology, or we are now even going up to the level of identifying digital detoxification to that level. Because with technological advancements like Chat GPT, we are now, is it that we are going to learn from the machines or we are going to do the machine learning? That itself is a big question nowadays. Yes, Nasir sir very well said that we need to be sensitized with respect to hunger, the poverty, which are the basic physiological needs, the environment in which we are residing. Because see, ultimately, every human has a right to live a quality life. And for that, if I talk about the first 3 sustainable development goals, they are the basic factors where to break the cycle, yes, the government intervention is essential. But then how to come out of it? Education will definitely play a very major role. And that is where the quality education, we are now, though shifting towards the skill, we are emphasizing on it. That is, everyone becomes economically gainful and is able to earn a livelihood. Once you're educated, that means it is not only the literacy level I'm trying to point out. We are trying to point out about I'm able to appreciate the social factors as well, the human values that we are looking for. Because if I'm able to look into this, then only I'm able to contribute to these basic goals that are being laid down. Yes, when we are talking about other aspects, like we are moving into the industry's role, we are talking about the role of the innovation, we are talking about the infrastructure. Yes, definitely, like ma'am said, aggregate demand is there, which is high, and similarly, we need to address the aggregate supply. But then, if we look into the very essence of the macroeconomic factor, that is the circular flow, it is of relevance because see here, we have to look into the local aspects, the resources, because when we are taking an action, we need to look into the usage of the local resources because they are best suited to our environment. So these local resources, local consumption, the role of the medium, micro, small scale enterprises that we are definitely encouraging through our policies as well, generating the entrepreneurial mindset will help us optimally utilize the resources. Once the resources are being optimally utilized, then automatically the fallout, the outcome is the undesirable output is minimized. So that sensitizations, whether it is coming into the fuel optimum utilization or the green energy, we are talking about green fuel, we are talking about the green audits in the institutions. Yes, all these involves the people's participation. And participation will only come once they are sensitive to these concerns and they are ready to become the change makers. And that change makers will only be possible once they are actively involved or engaged in the initiatives that we as institutions, I'm referring to all the institutions, be it industries, be it educational institutions, and this will definitely lead to our desirous outcome. That's from my side onto this.
Thank you, ma'am. With this homo technicians, no, yes, homo technicians, right?
Homo technicus, the new terminology which is moving in now.
So, and this disruptive technology. So, I would like to go to Subhra ma'am once again and ask her that how this Homo technicus and disruptive technologies can be useful in making people to participate, because with this technology in our hands, we are kind of getting isolated from each other. But it is the technology only which is bringing us together, and this is, I think, this panel is a great example of this, where Rachita madam was going to come to us offline in the campus, but then she finally had some issues, so she decided. So in this way, we have this technology that has brought us all together. At the same time, when Nasir sir is here from Afghanistan, and we call Shobha, and she could not make it. So this technology has brought us together. So Shubhra, how can this technology help us in making people participate in achieving these sustainable development goals? if we talk about a few goals, I think I would reiterate once that India has adopted certain SDGs as mission that comprises of 8 core areas that are solar energy, enhanced energy efficacy, sustainable habitat, water, sustaining Himalayan ecosystem, green India, sustainable agriculture, and strategic knowledge for climate change. So, how can disruptive technologies be used in making people to participate? Over to you, ma'am.
So, when we talk about technology, we all know that data is the whole and sole source of all our knowledge. Data, we talk about data everywhere. So, from where do we get data? It is technology who helps us get the data, store the data, and have an idea on the trends of the data. So, when we talk about technology which is disruptive, that is the technology who gives us a 360-degree knowledge or an idea on an umbrella idea on what is basically happening. So when we at Saha Zero Waste use multiple technologies so that the entire chain, the value chain of waste is being captured. We use IoT, we use CRMs, we use various technology of that sort to not only manage the municipal solid waste but also the textile waste, which is, I mean, we are the first ones to do this, using technology to handle textile waste, use technology to handle municipal solid waste. So that is the sector which gives a lot of scope, not only to get the data, but also to focus on how we can improvise on certain goals. For example, when we talk about water, when we talk about preserving water, we need to know what is the best particular water portfolios. How do we test that? So all these technologies not only helps us, I mean, whatever it does in terms of negativity, as ma'am said, it's a trade-off. Always it's a trade-off. We cannot have everything together. But if we want to do something good in terms of in managing our environment, we have to look into technology, which again paves a lot of way, not only for us, but for the upcoming generations also.
Thank you, Subhraji. Public policy, Anupama ji. So, public policy is a matter that needs to be taken care of as soon as I talk about technology, and when Shubhra has already highlighted that people like them are already using it. So, how political will and public policy has a role to play, so that I mean, I can give a few examples, like that there has been a policy recently that talks about our ACs will no more be having more than, I mean, below 25 degrees or so. We will not be able to kind of put those temperatures down, which is going to help a lot to all of us in maintaining the environment, and at the same time we'll be using our energy bills. I mean, we will be reducing our energy bills also. Similarly, there are initiatives wherein those taxis will not be able to overspeed their cars for, above the 80 kilometers per hour. So these are some of the public policies, I think, which will help in people's participation, and it will also help us to achieve our goals quickly. So, how do you? And definitely, political will is extremely important as far as this is concerned. And we all should definitely say no to any kind of free electricity being given by any governments. So, what is your? How do you take this, Anupama ji?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kavita, again to bring me here on public policy, which is again a very important thing in which I'm working right now. But when we're coming to this discourse of sustainable development goals, and we talk about sustainability of what, and I have an issue with your last sentence when you said that we should not be giving free. I have an objection to that here, because when we talk about inclusion, we cannot exclude. So we need to understand that very, very clearly. inclusivity and exclusivity. So if when we are including, we are excluding someone, or how the inclusion process actually happens. So the very process comes from where? And when we talk in sustainable development goals, there is sustainability of what? We are talking about sustainability of definitely resources. There could be any. I mean, the resources are huge. There could be political, social, and these resources also for that matter. But basically, we are dealing with the resources and talking about across all 17 sustainable development goals. And we talk about inclusion, which I have already dealt upon in my previous address. So without including everyone so that none is excluded, first of all, we need to create freeness also. That's one thing we need to understand. And we are living in a democratic space where we talk about giving something free is a crime. No, because somewhere you have utilized all the resources in your benefit through market or any other mechanism. Now, market is a mechanism here. And here, when we talk about SDGs, we start from environment because we're talking about sustainability in its very definition is talking about future generations always. So that is, attached to it. That word is very permanent to it, that we are talking about future generations. So anything what we are leaving tomorrow, whether in terms of resources, whether in terms of a legacy, whether in terms of a political will, that would define the whole world in a much better place to live. Because in science and social sciences, we understand how we ought to live. So how better we could be a society. That's why we study all the humanities and social sciences. The sciences has given us the facts in life. There is a fact and we know all the facts. The technology is there. Now, when we are discussing technology, as Subra was also discussing, the technology has come in a beautiful way. It has saved us. It has taken us from a one platter to a very different level platter. As far as economic well-being is concerned, as far as development is concerned. But there I raised a question, development and progress. Are we really progressing? No, we are standing in a deprogress state. How far we might be developed? But somewhere in a status quo where we are disillusioned, we are not happy. This we need to understand very clearly. Now, how that you talked about political will. So the public policy now, SDGs for all that matter, that it's an international platform. It's kind of a public policy, international policy, rather, I should take it in that connotation. So when we're talking about that policy, there is a political will which has come, people have gathered, they have made a platform, they've come on one consensus, they've realized that, okay, this is important. The resources are scarce, we need to have a sustainability for a future generation, so we need to preserve the resources, or if there are too many, we need to redistribute them in a just manner so that we have zero poverty, zero hunger, and blah, blah, blah. All 17 goals are inclusive, I told you that. So when we are talking about this public policy, we are very clear. Even before forming the Sustainable Development Goals, we were clear about our policy initiatives. Now, as Nasir very rightly pointed out, that we need to have an action for that. We need to have a change, a use of our voice. See, I mentioned in the initial address also the narrative. So when you talk about people's perception and sustainability, because that is our topic we are deliberating upon, how we look around or turn around people's perceptions so that our sustainability is achieved in its truest sense, where everybody gets everything and there is no poverty, no drudgery in the world. People have access to education, good health, sanitation, etc., etc. But we are also standing in a state, in an era where the inequality is the highest in the world. Never happened so much. The inequality, the rate of inequality, the way it is changing is. So what public policies are we talking about? We need to create a discourse. We need to create a political will, but also somewhere a social power, which we never created. It is not one end that you're giving to someone and then you're debating that this free is not good and that you should tax and free is not good. That could be a different debate altogether. We are in a capitalist economy, we are in a market economy. Right now, there is no country in the world which is having a true socialism. There was once upon a time, which is not there. So we are in a market economy. All said and done, even the best of communist economies like China is the most market economy, market-led economy. Market is the truest thing right now. Now, how do we attain those sustainable development goals with this mechanism of market, which has created haves and have-nots, which has failed in environmental goods, whose sustainability we are talking about. So, I mean, you have got into a confusion kind of a zone. So where do we go? It doesn't mean, but I come back to Nasir, what he said, that we need to use our voice. We need to have active engagement around what? Now that what needs to be answered, sustainability of what? If we are talking about public policy, as you wanted me to speak upon, we've defined our policies, but public policy, if the person for whom the policy is reaching doesn't have a voice in that, is it going to be a definite public policy with achieving definitive goals? No. The answer is no. We have learned from history. We have learned from all the economic systems that for whom the plan is made, it never reaches to the person. India is a classic example. We started with, I'm a regional planner by my, what you call, in academics, I studied regional planning to the core of it. So when I graduated, I was a regional planner. Now we know that how beautiful it is, but did it happen? India embarked on 72, 74th Amendment, Panchayati Raj, everything, to give it to the local level for whom we are making the plan. Participating, making that individual participate in the plan for whom the plan is being designed. But it was a non-starter. This is the fallacy. This is the problem. In spite of introducing, MP was the first state, I take that pride in saying, but somewhere our planning was non-starter. We never embarked on that kind of public policy, participation, I'm sorry. So public participation, adding to what Nasir said rightly, that using voice, engaging the active engagement of people, but in public policy, if their participation for whom the plan is being made is not there, what is the use? What is the use of the sustainable development goals if we are making a sub-Saharan country for zero poverty we are targeting, and we are doing all sorts of, there are huge amount of projects, international projects, you can see CDG and so many international organizations doing funding, but we are not coming anywhere near to erasing that kind of poverty. Why? Somewhere who's the culprit we need to understand. We need to understand that market has played in a better way in creating luxuries for us, but has now stood in the way of creating those inequalities. Now, how that market mechanism should be corrected should be the discussion today. It is not going back to the Stone Age or, because when I was discussing with my son today, what is your answer? He's studying AI and he's a software engineer in US and started his job very recently, 22 years of age. And he said, Ma, we need to go back. See, these are young children. I mean, that's not the path. We cannot go back. We cannot retrace our path. Technology is there, which is there, and we cannot go back. AI is the thing. Robotics is the thing. We will have a clone of ourselves. Come what may, you like it or you don't like it. It is going to be a reality. Now in that, we need to, because who created market? After all, when Keynes talks about market, that, okay, we cannot leave it to the market alone when the depression happened. The answer was there, that creating demand for employment, because employment is more important. And therefore, how the government has to work, Keynes also elaborated in that. Now, Friedman was also talking about government intervention. Keynes was also talking about government intervention. But there he was a monetarist talking about bank rate. But there is a huge difference between the kind of government action they were talking about. Now, here we need to delineate very clearly. Whatever the governments, those who don't want to come in SDGs, fine. It's up to them. But those who have gathered together on the international platform today, first of all, we need to give the voice to everyone. Why not to Afghanistan? Why not to
Madam?
Why not to Morocco? Why not to all the countries? Yeah.
That for whom the policies are being made, they don't have a voice. So
yes, public participation.
Oh, yeah, public participation. So it is not possible that for whom the policy is being made, they have a voice always. And markets are created in the Stone Age also. We do not need Keynes and Friedman to.
No. I think this is a very different kind of.
I would move on.
Markets was in Stone Age. I disagree with that totally, because you know what the market is. We're talking about today's markets.
during.
What you're referring to is production relations, Kavita.
Time, ma'am. I would like to go to Rachita, ma'am, and then
I'll just try to conclude it in a very in a 2 or 3 sentences. Let me conclude. So what you're taking the connotation of market, I'm talking about the production. You're talking about production relations.
No,
Production relations were there also. There was a mode of production that time also, but we have a complicated production relations.
We do not need anyone to explain people's behavior. It is always as per the economics.
I agree. I agree. 100% I agree. 100% I agree. But what I'm trying to say is that we know, we are already defining. People have written, we are, when we take a class of economics and development, we talk about market failure. I mean, we have to take it with a pinch of salt. We need to understand where we need to correct. We cannot do away with the markets, but where we need to correct. See, Madam very rightly said the demand and supply problem. Very nicely she had elaborated upon it. So there was a demand problem, we had government. Then there was a supply shock, Keynes theory failed, we know as economists. The markets would be there, but how to take to that level when we are on an international platform now, all with a consensus. So we need to change the narrative, Kavita. This is what I was trying to mention. How that narrative changes, we need to give that social power.
Kavita ma'am, I would like to add on to ma'am here.
That is what I was saying.
I think I'll just close from one note. That is, we need to talk not about development, but underdevelopment. Again, Arthur Lewis was a very big development economist. And please read his theory, and we need to define. My whole PhD is on underdevelopment. So I know what underdevelopment connotates. So when we talk about development, we are not talking about underdevelopment. We need to now have a discourse on underdevelopment than
talk about supply.
I leave it on that.
So I would like to go to Rachita, madam, on that.
See, what ma'am was saying, basically, she wanted to bring it in a very specific manner that yes, there is the concern with respect to the market when we are talking about. That means we have to be responsible consumers and responsible producers if we are looking into the sustainability. That means as consumers, we have to be conscious. Let's look into the complete product life, like ma'am was saying with respect to the relations. That means if I use a product to its life, that will help into a significant level of sustainability. What about the other aspects, like I was referring, look into the local resources, because then the packaging, the warehousing, the other level of the shelf life, all will help. Look into the reduction of the wastage, the pollutants, the optimum utilization, the recycle, the reuse. And this will come from the producer side. If you look into the market, that means they have to have their responsibility. They have to be aware with respect to the business practices that they are going to adopt. This will definitely contribute to a big level of sustainable development. Because it is not only that we are looking into the market. Yes, we have to look into the future aspects because the responsibility is very important. So where industry will then have to look into is the resilient infrastructure. They will have to look into the innovative business processes, which is contributing to the sustainability in respect of the environment, the pollution, the green energy, everything. So like ma'am said, the technology is inevitable. Yes, we accept it. But then to what level? Because see, ultimately it is going to have an impact on the human mind.
I was coming to that, the moral judgments and the value judgments. I was coming to that in the end. Anyway,
yes, so you ultimately tell me one thing. We as adults, if we are facing anxiety, that means if I just keep a mobile phone away for 3 hours, you will start being anxious. I hope I didn't get it. Then what about the young mind? When you're getting involved into the technology to that level. What about phantom ringing? I'm using certain terminologies which is coming in. Is it that the technological advancements or the AI, even the people like Elon Musk, they are starting looking into it, the pace at which the technology is advancing, that needs to be checked. There has to be a development, but then we cannot ignore the sustainability, even using these platforms. So the policymakers will have to be very sensitive in respect of all these aspects. And definitely it is going to be advantageous if used judiciously. So that is where we work towards a peace as well. So it will definitely contribute.
As
I wanted to add to this one line that I was coming to that. Kavita, I just would like to interject. What I was closing upon was the psychological safety. I was coming full circle because that is very important now, that psychological. And the narrative of public perception need to align to that kind of a psychological safety. Thank
And
you.
I think in a country as diverse like India, we cannot have the same perception, and we should not look forward to that.
100%.
And I also think that public policy need not be same for that matter. We can have different policies, and we will definitely have different policies because we are at different levels of development. On one end, we do not have the awareness. On the other, we are looking for innovative minds, channelizing them to become entrepreneurs and to take up areas like waste management as key areas in which they can start their businesses. So so as educators, we have to see this diversity among our students also, and accordingly we can be mentors of both these groups. And we
need to redefine the competitive space and the competition, the kind of competition which ensures the environment of psychological safety. This is what I wanted to conclude.
And
that kind of environment is very important for students.
Yes, definitely, madam, you said that competition is very bad. But I would not say competition is very bad, but cutthroat competition should always be avoided. No need of cutting throats of each other. So we can be conscious consumption. We can have conscious consumption. Judicious consumption can be taught as educators. And as Subhra already said that she has started to use technology in making people to participate in dealing with the waste and other areas. So I think I would like to thank everyone for
there are 4 words: humility, respect, honesty, and transparency. If with that judicious, what you said, if all these all come together and we give that and make people understand their spaces, that everybody is important, that inclusion finally will come in that way, and that AI also will come in a better way, in a value judged manner, and in the most moral ways of it.
Right. So I think I would take a closing remark by Nasir ji, and then we will end this panel. Ji, sir.
Yeah, there was quite a good debate on this, but what I suggest, what I understand, there is a missing link on the policy coherence. The policy coherence for sustainable goals is an approach, and it is a policy tool to integrate the economic, the social, environmental, and governance dimensions of sustainable development at all stages of domestic and international policy making. Its aim is to increase government's capacities to achieve, for example, to foster synergies across economic, social, and environmental policy areas. We have to identify trade-offs and reconcile domestic policy objectives with internationally agreed objectives. And then we can address the spillovers of domestic policies, because I don't have that much expertise, or I could say from the Indians, I could say perspective, the policies, for example, the rejuvenation of the ideas from the government sector from that side. But if I talk from this economy perspective, so they have used some options. If I just go closely to those things, for example, the Ministry of Higher Education over here, they have a mandatory for university. They should have a master sustainability program. Although Afghanistan is that much, we are underdeveloped economy. But here, the way the procedures the government is using, because they have the policy at their disposal, which is truly used, actually, which is truly employed. Rather than giving the lip service, they are not inclined to that. They actually, what they say, and they put that in action. So that's why if we look at that element of policy formulation, there was a meeting by APDF, and it was suggested that there should be pedagogy and curriculum shift, and universities were supposed to launch a program on sustainability, and universities had to do it. So that is the action. So if we are, for example, earning a graduate degree in sustainability related field, can help transform the world. That's why we are transforming. See, our GDP is $19 billion, that's very less. But still, our economy is moving on. I'm just giving a thought that the government backed the democratic fabric back before 2021. So they later, with the help of HEDP, with the help of USAID, and with the help of UNDP, we realized some stuff. So if a country like Afghanistan, where we can foster, where we can revise the curriculum, the pedagogy, and the stuff, we guarantee sustainability. So the graduate program which we had, which we have, of course, here in the universities, we have, for example, MB in sustainability, environmental policy, climate change, these all stuff. So if we truly want to advance the UN Sustainable Development Goals, then the world needs passionate, driven individuals in the various fields of business, policy, and education who are enough trained, who have the expertise, who have the wits to lead the change in sustainability practices and inspire others to follow. Together, we, academia, policymakers, researchers, corporates, government stakeholders, and individuals, if we are committed to working for justice, this is my understanding, and have the capability to fight against poverty and equality, and then adopting sustainable practices, it will bring the world which we live in up to a glory then. So the final thought which we have, there is a need of policy discourse from the rational fronts. I mean here that actually what we need, because usually we have been in so many consultations with World Bank, and I have seen that how policies are formulated. It might be a surprising note for you that there was a policy related to tariff facilitation for Afghanistan, and without introspecting the markets, the policy was made. There was no stakeholder consultation, nothing. So I'm talking about the top level, what World Bank is doing. So maybe this might sense some frenzy to your ears, but this is true. So if we have a final thought is that we need a policy discourse, and we have to learn from these policy issues, from the policy point of view and from the business standpoint of view. So that would guarantee our role of achieving the SDGs at the people's level. Thank you.
So thank you, Nasirji. And so this means that the debate would go on, and it is always good. It is said that if there are 5 people sitting, they should have 6 ideas at least. So on this note, I would like to hand over to Sara for a vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Kavita ma'am, and our amazing set of panelists for imparting your valuable thoughts with us. Guys, can I have a huge round of applause for our panelists in the room? Now, with this, it is with immense pleasure that I stand before you today to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of the organizing committee of this conference. First and foremost, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all the distinguished speakers who shared their valuable insights and expertise with us. Your presence was truly enlightening, and we are grateful for the knowledge and experience you have imparted to us. I would also like to thank all the participants who attended the conference. Your active participation and engagement in the various sessions and discussions added immense value to the event. Your thoughtful questions and insightful comments made this conference a truly enriching experience. I further extend my sincere thanks to the sponsors of the conference. Your support and contribution have been instrumental in making this event a grand success. We are grateful for your generosity and commitment towards promoting the exchange of knowledge and ideas. I would also like to thank the members of the organizing committee who worked tirelessly to make this conference a reality. Your dedication, hard work, and attention to details have ensured that every aspect of this event was executed to perfection. Finally, I would like to express my heartfelt appreciation to the venue staff, the caterers, and everyone else who worked behind the scenes to ensure that the conference ran smoothly. Your efforts have not gone unnoticed, and we are grateful for all that you have done to make this event a success. Once again, thank you to everyone who contributed to making this conference a success. We look forward to welcoming you all in the future events.
Thank you, Amity. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
I would love to invite you all. I take this opportunity to invite each one of you to the campus, and let us meet in the next conference. This is a standing invitation to you all for the next conference, which will be around this time next year. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
much, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Guys, every one of you is requested to sit down. Only the delegates will leave the conference hall first. Please.
Shivani ma'am will be coming